So I haven't missed anything.
Oh no, we've been live. We just dropped it for a minute.
Oh.
Probably annoyed everybody because we were gone for, a good 8 minutes here trying to get it all set up.
Is it working now?
Yeah, are you on a slow connection?
Me? I'm on 10 meg up, so that might be the problem.
Yeah, because the quality looks like crap.
Yeah. I get 100 down, but I only get 10 meg up.
All right,
Megabytes or megabits?
here, we're going to try this a little differently. Go to OBS Studio again and click Stop Streaming now that we know that you start streaming.
Yeah, go on.
And that we should have done that the first time because that would have prevented us from, not being live anymore. Well, it would have cut out the audio, but it would have left the stream up.
Right.
Now let me see, double check, make sure. Yep, that is mine.
So we're back on live stream, are we?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so I don't muck anything up.
No,
I'm gonna.
You're still sharing. Can you go back to your OBS Studio?
OBS. Yeah.
And click. Oh, it says you're not streaming.
I'm not streaming.
Oh,
no.
I see what's going on. I'm looking at that. So let me fix that. No.
I can stop me screen share if you want, in Discord.
Okay.
If that's what you need me to do to stop screen share. Was that confusing you?
It's not confusing. What's confusing me is what's coming out of the stream. Is it mine or is it yours?
Well, it can't be mine because it's OBS is saying start streaming, so I'm not streaming at all.
Let's see what happens when I do that then.
Yeah, that's just ended the stream.
That didn't end the stream, it just ended the video for the stream.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah, it is mine.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
All right.
It's one of those things you've just got to practice, isn't it?
Yeah. Trial and error, more or less. And then what I do is for the other live stream is I share a whole screen, and then on half the screen I have a web page with the show notes and any of the links that we click on, and the other half of the screen is mintCast Studio.
Right.
Alright, so I guess we still need to pick a show topic.
We certainly do.
Hmm.
Mucking about with YouTube.
Seems appropriate.
Is that half an hour's worth, though?
Oh.
We could also
Good
discuss
time,
our YouTube subscriptions.
Oh, that could be dangerous.
Who we follow and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, could do.
I had an idea the other day. It's basically the different release models the distributions follow, and whichever is right for whom. For example, when shouldn't a person use a rolling release distro or an LTS Because recently I realized that while Ubuntu regular releases have 9 months of support, Fedora does 13 months. So with Fedora you can actually do that. You skip every other release and you may only do the even ones or the odd ones. So you have to only update once a year. But with Ubuntu you either do 6 months or 2 years. You can do the once every year because it doesn't have a whole year of support. So things like that.
Talking about LTS versus the point releases.
RTS and point releases versus
And
different point releases of different pace and versus rolling release. I'm not sure if when the last time this came up or if it even was an actual inert topic.
I'm not sure. I know Ubuntu proper supports LTS for 5 years, and then I believe the not derivatives, but the flavors I think go 3 years.
Another interesting thought about this. Usually people associate rolling releases with having very up-to-date software, but in my opinion that shouldn't always be the case. The main selling point it's free, but the main advantage for a rolling release, in my opinion, is that you don't have two major updates. So you don't have you don't have major releases. But it doesn't mean it has to be very up to date. Because for example, I've been using Void, and it's while Arch has had 5.14 kernel for multiple months now. Void is still on 5.13 because even though they are rolling release, they focus more on stability. That's also an interesting point I came up with, how rolling release doesn't necessarily mean being up to the software. And Manjaro is an interesting case because while it lags maybe 2 weeks behind Arch, in my experience, it actually is more likely to break because of how they handle updates. I'm not sure if it's a good inert topic, it's just something that I came up with a few days ago.
Yeah, I was using Manjaro as a secondary OS before the KDE spin, and I had a major breakage on it, but it was only for the KDE spin. They actually had a bunch of KDE packages that got replaced with Git packages, and that repo didn't exist, so it actually wiped out all of it, and you had to reinstall all the KDE stuff all over again.
I was on Manjaro GNOME for 5 months, and during that 5 months there were, I think, at least 2 problems that affected a lot of users that was caused by updates. There was one time when I updated, rebooted, and a GNOME terminal wouldn't open. And apparently a solution was to go into local gem, I'm not sure what the file name is, and you had to uncomment the local that you wanted to use. So for some reason, updating the system commented the line back on.
Right.
Which is not very good, because I think Manjaro is advertising themselves for everyone to use. So I think they even target new users. It was my first distro, but I was going into Linux by actually wanting to learn the terminal, but I'm not sure. I think that XFC spin might be the least likely to break, because XFC doesn't have major updates that often.
Right. I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, but also there's the fact that, like I said, they hold up back updates maybe 2 weeks after Arch releases them, but they don't hold back the AUR. So there could be a case when any AUR package depends on something in the main repos, but the package in the main repos is 2 weeks behind of Arch and the Manjaro repos, so that could, in theory, cause breakages also.
This is why I tend to stick with Debian-based distros. And hey, Leo, and hey, Londoner.
Oh.
Are they on the stream again?
It seems so.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize it generated a new link. That's my bad. I guess, Tony, do you want to post it around? Or
Sorry,
Norbert. The new link
Sorry?
for the live stream.
right. I'll have to go into the live stream. Just a minute.
All right. Take the opportunity to promote the various finest. Ianga, my favorite brewery.
So, do I put it in show announcements?
Yeah, you can put it wherever you want. Definitely put it in the Discord, put it in the Telegram, maybe put it in the Matrix.
I haven't got Matrix. And I haven't got Telegram on here.
Actually, if you put it in the Telegram, it would come up there.
I haven't got Telegram on here.
Okay, no worries. Londoner already put it in the Telegram, so we're good there.
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Londoner. And Leo's going to do Twitter. I've never logged into the Twitter, and I don't think I plan to.
No, I don't think I have either.
No, I have it right here.
Do you have the mintCast Twitter?
I do.
Well, do you have the login for the mintCast Twitter?
Oh, no. I'm just a follower of the...
You do have the login for the mintCast Twitter. You just don't know how to look for it.
Oh, I might know how to look for it.
It says we're live, and there's the link. Beautiful.
Imagine that. You get the word out, and people start looking at it. I'm looking at the analytics.
Linux advertising problems? No, not us.
Okay. So what was the show topic? Release schedules?
I wasn't really thinking about release schedules. It's which type of release schedule fits different workflows. Because recently I last year I started following a few Linux content creators. Some people say that there isn't really a point in using a point release on a personal computer. Some people do think it's still better because these are opinions, but I would be interested into hearing everyone's opinions here on this. Because, for example, in a business setting, it's good to have long support. And I never really followed business-oriented operating system, but it was interesting to see, especially when the news about CentOS came up, how it's the very, very long support time is one of the main selling points of an enterprise distro.
Yeah, I think it's very subjective. It just depends on what you need. For instance, a lot of people call Debian crusty because the packages, they say are old. But for my personal use case, I could use Debian stable with no problems at all. I mean, it's...
Well, it being subjective is what it could make it an interesting topic.
For sure. What was that you were holding up there, by the way, Joe?
Well, I was trying to get this MMCX connector in focus, but it doesn't look like it's gonna. So let me try again.
It's pretty small.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna focus. It's too tiny.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Try soldering on that thing.
Oh my. Yeah, not gonna happen.
And then this is the board I was taking parts off of.
Just for the television?
Yeah, for the television. The other one is in the TV, despite being broken. You can see there I pulled the two caps off. And they were good caps. I pulled the coils off. That was fun to get off in one piece, which is why I did it on the other board first.
Right.
And then, let's see, right there was where the fuse was. And then these four holes right here, that's where the AC inverter was. And yeah, my heat gun did definitely come in handy getting some of these out. But I did have to be careful because I didn't want to heat up the other caps too much.
What is the form factor on this? Is that ITX or is it even smaller? I can't tell.
This is maybe mini ITX size, but it's definitely there's no real processing here or anything. It's just a power supply essentially.
Wow. Okay.
Is micro
ITX
I think,
size,
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty small to have to work with.
Yeah, but it was fun. Worth $16 I paid for the other board just to give it a try.
Sure.
But the LED strips I can't get for less than 30. And then needing another power supply board because of the pop that happened on the other one.
Yeah. Did you see the magic smoke?
Yeah. At least another 15 or 20 bucks there, so it's another 50 bucks for a TV that I don't plan on using. Yes, it'll be fun to work on, but
right.
I have to justify the expense to the wife.
Ah, that's the thing. ROI.
And I was planning on showing my son how dangerous capacitors could be. Because I had to drain those capacitors before I started working on them with a soldering iron. But because he got a couple, he took apart parts of a truck at his grandpa's house and brought them home and started taking them apart, and they have some large capacitors in them. And I thought about it again, because if I showed him how to do it, he'd want to do it, and I couldn't guarantee, that he wouldn't have it plugged in at the time.
Yeah, no bueno.
And yes, it is a very satisfying pop when you put something in there.
Right. Were your old capacitors on there? Were they swollen up?
The capacitors on the original board weren't, but the one I ordered that was supposed to be good, those were swollen.
Okay.
That pissed me off. And then, like right next to them, the AC inverter was extremely burnt and shorted out, causing the rest of the board to short out. That was actually a pretty easy one to find. It took me longer to find the fuse than it did to find that part.
Wow.
We could have a segment called Bi-Weekly Solderings.
We could. I did a soldering segment on one of the Saturday shows because I was the only one that showed up.
I think that was the second Saturday show that I catched.
Yeah.
Coat. What's the third form of catch? Did catch, coat?
Caught.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as the past tense, right?
Leo's mentioning there's a bug with ZFS on Ubuntu 21.10. Wasn't aware.
Yeah, I just saw someone had posted a YouTube video and said Ubuntu 21.10, the worst Ubuntu ever.
It was DistroTube.
Yeah, I saw that. What was the specific issue with ZFS?
Speaking of Ubuntu, there's something about Ubuntu's implementation of GNOME that is I find it to be a bit off, because I have no problem with vanilla GNOME body, but for some reason it doesn't fit with the Ubuntu workflow for me. So even if they end up moving to a different desktop in the upcoming years, I would actually be interested to see what they would do. So I wouldn't mind if they left GNOME.
Right. So Leo says corrupted data on the ZFS. That's not good. And why stick with the XT4? I know it doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles, but it just seems to be solid.
Yeah, Highlander's talking about discharging capacitors. It was fun. Lovely pop. Always made me jump. Even though I knew I was holding a rubber-handled screwdriver. Yes, I don't have the proper tools to properly drain a capacitor without going zzz. But I prefer not to do, the kicking chicken.
No, especially on large capacitors. I'm sure that would not be fun.
Well, those were big enough. I mean, I think they're 120 microfarads. And they put off a good pop, so not no 60,000 microfarads or anything, but still a good pop.
For sure.
No, is it 120 volts or 220 volts? I think it's 220 volts, 120 microfarad. Well, when I measured it with the voltmeter, it was coming out to around 120 volts. So.
Oof. That's enough.
That's right. That's enough.
Yeah. I'm with you, Leo. I've heard the BTRFS. I'm not a user yet, but I have high hopes. Fingers crossed, one day it gets to be the, I guess, the default, the de facto file system that we have. I think there's a lot of good features in it, and you don't have all the issues with the licensing. So that would be nice.
Just moved to ButterFS because I've been using Refined for a bootloader on my tablet, and I realized that since I didn't really have any plans for dual booting, when I moved to Fedora, I just did a clean install. So I had Fedora do the automatic setup, and by default it creates a 1 gig X4 boot partition, not the EFI partition, but it's set for the /boot, and then it makes a ButterFS root partition. And it actually has compression by default, which was interesting. So if anyone does the default for partitioning for Fedora, they get the compression by default. So I am on ButterFS, but it only creates 2 subvolumes, one for root and one for home, and it doesn't have any snapshotting setup by default, which is interesting because even if you do a manual partitioning or an automatic one on OpenSUSE, it sets up around 10 subvolumes, so it's way better for snapshotting. I find it interesting how Fedora moved to ButterFS, but they don't have the subvolume set up in a way that's optimal for snapshotting.
Yeah, that's interesting. You'd think that'd be one of the primary selling points.
Maybe at one point.
You ever use that, Tony, or do you stick with the XT4 on Mint?
I tend to stick with the XFCE, whatever it is for. Yeah.
Right. Same here.
On all my other devices, I have X4. It was also very interesting to see, Tony, your desktop where you have the 2 panels set up for Mate, but you have the panels reversed.
Say that again.
So when you shared your screen on Discord, you have the dual panel set up for Mate, but you have the panels reversed. It was interesting to see.
Yeah, no, I set up the top panel again because I was there's a particular meeting that I do once a week, and I end up having about 10 screens open, and because I've got all the icons on the bottom panel, it tends to overcrowd the bottom panel, so I've got the second panel just to show me what screens I've got open, what tabs.
Yeah, but it's interesting because the setup you have is almost identical to the default Mate setup, but they are just swapped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the familiar layout.
But I've just got the, whatever tabs that I've got using. So whether I've got a browser open or documents, because on that particular meeting I can have about 10 documents open at once. and
Just
it very quickly fills the panel up.
Uh,
on XSC, I turned off window grouping on the panel, but I also turned off labels, so I just have a bunch of icons for the open windows.
that makes sense.
Well, everything fits in one panel.
I'm still on an old 22-inch monitor, 1680 by 1050, so it's very cramped. But I like that square aspect ratio. I don't know why. I'm old.
I also had another idea of, sorry,
Go on.
for innards. When I was listening to the Arch episode of Linux User Space, and when Leo said it's not your distro, but what you make is a distro, and he ended up calling his setup Leonix. So if you were to build a distro, what would it be like? Is what a topic could be, because since I've been using Void, and apparently it's true how they say they are focusing more on stability than having up-to-date software. And after the bad experiences in Manjaro, I was thinking maybe there could be a more user-friendly distro based on Void, because Void itself is not, you cannot do anything without a terminal. But if someone were to get the distro on top of Void and give it a graphical package version and all sorts of things, could it be a distro that's on the level of easiness as Mint, while having up-to-date software because it's running? I even ended up giving it a name, which I'm not going to say, because if I ever end up making this distro in the future, I don't want anyone to steal the name. So that could be a thing. If you were to fork a distro, build a distro on top of something else, what would it be like? What would be the defaults?
I just tried Void on Ventoy with Enlightenment, and I thought it was really nice. Actually,
I should
it's
check
very
out
right on
Enlightenment.
Ventoy.
I've
What's that?
only I should really check out Enlightenment, because I've only tried it briefly once, and it went very odd, but I haven't even tried the body lyrics yet. I haven't
Yeah,
even tried Moksha.
it's definitely more old school. Yeah, it's very much like Bodhi with Moksha. Yeah.
Sounds like we need to get Toyum back on the show.
Oh, I would love to.
Joe, as far as live streaming goes, what's the minimum upload speed I
10
need?
should be more than enough.
All right.
Does it also affect the audio quality? How, if you set the bitrate for the video? How does it work?
It can. I mean, if you're using up too much bandwidth, it could start cutting in and out.
Because audio quality might be more important for a streaming
Yeah.
show like this.
You gotta remember, I'm new to all this too. I mean, I just started doing it.
Yeah.
Because I've only ever set up OBS for recording and not streaming. So I'm not sure how about the streaming setup for audio looks like. Just open it up and see. So if I go to output and streaming, no, there's a streaming, recording, and an audio tab. So I think if you can set audio bitrate separately, it shouldn't affect the video bitrate shouldn't affect the audio, as far as OBS goes, at least.
How's it look, Clayton? Stream coming in clear on your big screen?
That's strange. That I just noticed in Discord. Mine, when you go to YouTube, mine and Joe's images on our video are flipped.
Yeah, I did notice. I think no, it's only Joe's on the stream.
No, mine's flipped as well. Or it is for me anyway.
I'm looking at this the stream and Discord, and it's the same.
Yeah.
The little drawers of I assume they are screws are located on the right side of your screen. On both,
Yeah, but
for me.
when I'm looking at the Discord video directly, for my image, they're on the left.
What's interesting is for me, both your and Josh's video is the same, but Joe is flipped.
Yeah, Josh is the same.
Why? How can you tell I'm flipped?
Because when I'm looking at
because you sat the other way round on the YouTube.
So on Discord I can read everything on the wall, and on the stream it's backwards.
I got Discord up over here and the live stream up on the left. But
if you look at the live
from
stream,
the studio. If I look at the live stream and I look at the Discord at the same time, it looks exactly the same to me.
But if you look at the stream on YouTube, it's flipped.
Okay.
So all the writing on the wall is flipped.
That's interesting because mine and Joe's are flipped, and Tony's looks the same on mine in terms of
that's weird.
stream.
I blame
for me.
YouTube.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Okay, now I
'cause
brought
mine
up the
and
live
Joe's are
stream,
flipped
and it looks the exact same. So yeah.
Yeah, we're all seeing something different, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
That's not possible because everyone sees the same on YouTube.
Don't look
Everyone-
like it.
Everyone should see the same.
Yeah, my hand is in the bottom left corner.
Well, I've got
So
your hand in the
Discord?
bottom right corner as
Bottom
I'm
right corner
looking
for
at
me.
it, but on YouTube it's the bottom left.
Right, same here, Tony.
Wait, on YouTube I see the bottom right. I think I'm not sure how that could be possible.
Yeah, all the writing does look reversed to me.
On the stream.
But that's Discord doing that. So it must be Discord that's changing y'all's stream.
But when I look at your screen in the Discord window itself, it's not flipped. Everything is right.
Oh well.
This could be another topic that could fill 30 minutes.
The vagaries of streaming.
Doesn't change the fact that the 300 poster is brilliant.
Yep. And the Pac-Man poster.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the arcade machine. Space Invaders.
Transform.
I prefer the Pac-Man
Rotate
poster.
180 degrees. Nope, that didn't do it. It's upside down now. Transform.
Now that
rotate
could make for an
180
interesting stream.
Transform. Flip.
But everything is
There you
upside down,
go.
not just your picture.
Now you can read the writing. Actually, no. Yeah. Now it's
Yeah,
all
now that
straight.
looks exactly the same as Discord now.
No, for me, it's the opposite of Discord.
Is it?
I told you, I just flipped the screen.
The only
Yeah,
consensus is
I've
there
just
is no
flipped
consensus.
over. On Discord, I'm on the left hand side, and now I'm on the right hand side on YouTube. Oh dear.
Yeah, but my posters look right
Oh
now.
dear. Yeah.
Everyone else but you is flipped.
So has anyone heard from Nissan?
Only seeing him in the Telegram this week. He also posted in.
I had a funny feeling he said he might be doing something today. I can't remember.
Huh. Yeah, I don't see him.
I don't know what's up with YouTube then.
Leo's asking what I was drinking. So, initially, some Einja Urweisse, brewed to the German Reinheitsgebot, of course, Purity Act. And now on to the Mother Earth Brewing Company. Let's see, this is Kelly Creamin'. So it's a cream. I don't know if it's a ale. I guess cream ale.
My wife
Cool.
is supposed to be bringing me home a bottle of whiskey. I wasn't specific as to which kind.
Ah.
Now, would that be whiskey or bourbon?
I'll find out when she brings it home.
Oh.
Nishan said he was going to have a trip, go on a trip in the desert. Was it this week or next week?
Pardon?
I'm not sure.
Nishan said he was going on a trip onto the desert.
So did we pick a topic or were we discussing topics still?
I don't think we did pick a topic yet.
I think it's been a bit all over the place. And very nicely. I've never had Calidad.
I think it might be this weekend. Nishan is on a trip. Because I don't see him having written anything in the Discord, but he did mention last week that he was going on a trip.
Well, next week we've got a bit of leeway because my time it'll be 7 o'clock when the show starts.
Oh, so early.
I
You
know.
might have to set an alarm, Tony, so you can wake up in time.
Yeah.
Really, that's interesting, Leo, because I've never seen that. And I'm in the middle of California, so we don't get everything. A lot of stuff's exclusive to the Bay Area. But, yeah.
What's your
nice.
opinion on gun ownership? I only ask because you live in California.
Oh, my. I don't know
Dodgy
that
questions. Dodgy questions.
They are. Are we going into politics? Oh no, no. I really don't care too much either way. Honestly, I don't personally own a gun, but my daughter does. She has a .22 long rifle that she wanted a deer hunter's raffle. So,
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. how's that?
A 22 long at a deer raffle?
Yeah, I was going to say that wouldn't knock a deer over, would it?
No, probably not. Probably best for plinking around on cans, but yeah, I guess you got to start somewhere. So it works. Yeah, but myself, yeah, I'm more of a, I don't know, razors, knives. I like blades.
It's a difficult topic because if civilians can't own guns, then the people who would likely be shooters also they also can't get a gun that easily. But if everyone can own a gun, then the people who would likely turn out as shooters can more easily get a gun. So the average person has more reason to get a gun to defend themselves. So it's either everyone has a gun or no one.
A gun is a tool like any other. People say that the reason they're against guns is because of how quickly you can kill a mass number of people. But how is that any different than, your household chemicals and being able to make a bomb? Well, not everybody can make a bomb, but everybody can buy a gun. Well, no, that's not true. You still have to go through a licensing process. Well, in some
Not
states,
everywhere.
not anymore. In some states, you don't have to go through the licensing or background check process anymore, which is pretty dumb. But it's... Anybody can get a car, anybody can get a license for a car, and you can do stupid things with cars. It's been...
Some people do with stupid things with a car.
And with the advent of 3D printing, and I know people that are 3D printing guns right now, wouldn't education be better than restriction?
I've seen something that is kind of like that. Is anyone watching Tom Scott on YouTube?
No.
a video about a shooting range in Switzerland, and he explained how Switzerland enrolling in the military for a period is mandatory, and a lot of people. So, and those people get a proper training in how to use a firearm, and a lot of them actually choose to keep their guns. And I just looked at the numbers, and Wikipedia says in Switzerland there are 8.4 million people, but the number of civilian-held firearms is 2.3 million, so it's 27.6 guns per every 100 people. But the majority of these guns are owned by people who had actual proper military training for it, and the number of accidents is really low. So this could be one of the best examples of how gun ownership can be really high but manageable.
Yeah.
Well, I know in California they're just making it such an issue to obtain ammo. They've essentially squashed it by putting so much red tape in the way that it's just becoming difficult to even not own a gun, but just fire a gun, really. So, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty subjective stuff, I guess. I don't know. But even then, I've had cases in my town where there have been people that have protected their property by firing a firearm at someone and killing them, and then they themselves wind up in prison because of it. So it's a little tough.
Judged by 12 or carried by 6?
All right. So, yeah, difficult topic to kind of dance around there. And just to reply to Leo, yeah, I haven't seen that from Southern Cali. I'll have to take a look around and see if I can find that.
So, are we going to pick a topic?
No, that's a good question.
Sure.
Before,
sounds good.
Before I go.
All right.
What's your
Here's
topic,
part
Tony?
one.
Well, I haven't been doing much
Neither have I.
Linux-wise, so I haven't got anything specific. Do we want to talk about some of the software we use on a regular basis?
I'm pretty boring in that regard, but sure.
Likewise.
I sort of experienced something that I would describe as a distro hopper's burnout, because I realized I'm at a point after 1 year of Linux where trying out newer distros doesn't really improve my workflow at all. So I because I'm on the desktop, I haven't changed my OS in almost 4 months, which is almost a third of the year I've been on Linux. And it's so the same with my laptop, so I haven't really done much the word of note other than moving to Fedora on my tablet.
Yeah,
But
Fred, I'm
since
still stuck on construction in my restroom, so I haven't had any time to play around with anything, so I'm really out of the loop right now.
I get to pretend to be a plumber again today.
Again. Joe, you might as well just switch professions full time.
Yeah, but which
Josh
one do I
gets
pick,
How
you
is
know?
the bathroom renovation going?
Not too shabby. I mean, it's coming along slowly. There have been a few times where we've had to go without, sometimes 3 or 4 days, so the olfactory offensiveness does go up within the house. But overall, we're making progress. And
That's
I'm
where a
hoping-
gym membership locally helps. You can go and have a shower at the gym.
Would certainly help. I've almost looked into heading to the truck stop to get a shower from time to time.
The
But,
the YMCA?
there you go. But overall, yeah, we're hoping within the next couple of weeks we can wrap everything up. So the shower's nearly done, and then I have to put the new vanity and flooring and paint, and then we'll be finished.
It's pretty bad when you got to rent a hotel room for an hour so everybody can get a shower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, as for the episode, though, yeah, I'm not sure what the main topic should be.
Most
soldering.
of like bi-weekly solderings.
Bi-weekly solderings, yeah.
Most of my productivity is still on Windows, and I don't see it moving to Linux anytime soon because I'm dependent on Adobe apps. So it'll be sweet. So I'm not sure if I could say any much interesting
Yeah. I
stuff in
suppose
that regard.
Nissan had said he'd had to go back to Windows because of a game or something.
But then
Yeah, DLC.
he said he wouldn't want to do a boot on his desktop because he only has a 500 gig SSD and he wants to install a lot of games. But then I remember that my main Linux root partition is only 40 gigabytes and I only have 14 of it full. So I recommended him to have a big partition for Windows and a small partition for Fedora. And he actually, it makes sense. I think he might try that.
Do I have that email from
Yeah.
Alfred?
Is there a list of? We should make a list of past
I think
topics,
there is.
so we could have a better sense
Oh,
of what we've covered.
Oh, what we've covered? No.
We did start off with very good intentions of having a list so that we could go to it very quickly.
I made in Drive. I made a document of possible ideas. I maybe added 2 or 3 lines to it, but I'm not saying it here. So might be because on my regular Google account I only have access to the show notes and show audio folders.
Alright. I responded to Alfred.
Yeah. So what do we think, gents? What should be next week's?
I managed to remember my password for my mintCast account.
This is good.
It's not here, so it should be in the show notes. It's only the template.
You know, I'll tell you one thing. I need to know where to find a good chair. This one is literally flaking apart, and I have not been happy with it. I'd love to have a
I've been
good
on the
computer
lookout
chair.
for another chair for a while. I haven't had
I like
much
those.
luck.
No, I like those Steel series, but goodness, they're expensive.
Yeah, there's a lot of chairs that I like, but I'm not willing to pay $200 for a chair.
Yeah, I've seen some that have gone over 1,000 on Amazon. I'm going, are you kidding me?
Yep.
It's 1,000 for a chair.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I looked into one similar to yours, Tony. My daughter has one. You might be able to see that behind me a bit.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm kind of a heavier guy, so the padding just isn't enough. I need something a little more cushy. Maybe something like Joe's sitting in.
Oh no, this chair is like old. Seriously old. Now it's quality because, you know, it's actually hardwood on the inside, but the padding is crap. I need a new chair. I love this chair. I need a new chair.
You think maybe worth being reupholstered and just being redone?
Maybe, but that's not cheap either.
No, absolutely not. But this one I got from Walmart. It's a Serta. It's supposed to be for the big and tall fellow. And although I'm not tall, I'm certainly bigger. And yeah, I'm very disappointed. It lasted maybe
If
2
you
or
don't
3
mind my
years.
asking, how much do you weigh?
Oh, no, not at all. Probably about 230, 235, right in there.
That's not bad.
And I'm about 5'10", so I'm pretty compact.
5'11", and I used to weigh 265 pounds.
Oh, really? Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm at 205, just under 205 right now.
Yeah. And Tony, I'm assuming you have us both beat in terms of weight.
I was around about £200. I'm 6'1". I was around about £200, and then I had a stroke 4 years ago.
Oh.
And so I ended up losing £40. So I'm around just under £40. I'm around 165, something like that now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
165 is the lightest I've ever been as an adult, and that was sick for me. I was literally passing out sick being that small.
Really?
So never again.
I tried.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's good for everyone. It works for me.
Right. I think it's all very individual.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You carry a lot more muscle than I do, Joe.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Norbert, how about you?
I just had to bring up a kilograms to pounds converter. I'm pretty sure I've lost been sick for the past 2 weeks, which I think I will mention in my wanderings. I'm around 205 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Still plan to go lower. I was significantly heavier, maybe 4 to 5 years ago when I started consciously eating less carbohydrates, and I also started drinking a lot of tea, mainly green tea, and without having done more exercises than before, I ended up losing like I'm 205. I think was maybe around 255. So I think I lost around 50 pounds by just changing my eating habits and drinking a lot of green tea.
No, that's good.
I guess they say that losing weight is like 90% about diet and 10% about workout.
It is
I
90%
tried.
diet.
I went on a strictly plant-based diet for a year and a half. I'm not a very big meat eater to begin with, and I found that I didn't really lose much in terms of weight. So I don't know if it's just genetics or...
Some people will tell you different, but it breaks down to calories in, calories out. Now, a higher protein diet does require more energy to digest, so it technically... You eat the same amount of calories, you'll lose a little bit more weight or won't gain as much weight if it's higher in protein. So, and fiber.
True.
Yeah, I've just done the calculation. Currently, I'm about 169.
It's probably a very healthy weight for your height.
Yeah.
At 6'1", I'd say that's a little light.
Of course, we're from America, so...
Doesn't feel right.
Amen to that. So, any consistent or my goodness.
Man, we keep changing away from picking a topic.
Right.
I told you. The apps we use.
All right.
The apps we use. Okay.
All right.
We could pick the top 3 that we use most regularly.
Right. Well, I'll tell
Chrome, Audacity.
Got to be a music player in there, Joe. I think you and I are the only one that posts in the music channel there.
Yeah, but I always use YouTube for it.
Do you?
Yeah.
You don't have a dedicated music player?
Yeah, I've gone through a bunch of them, especially building ones for systems that have a very limited internet connection, and for Raspberry Pi, so like Mopedy and things like that. But when I'm on my home computer, I'm just using YouTube, and my phone, YouTube. I don't go in the office enough
And
to
that's
have to
all.
set up
That's
my
all
tab.
through a browser, so it's the actual browser, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, that would be true,
the-
yeah. That would be your app.
So Discord, Telegram, Steam,
Hmm.
DroidCam now.
I quite enjoy Lollipop. I'm sorry,
OBS.
Tony. Didn't mean to cut
No,
you
no,
off.
I was just going to say I use GIMP, Inkscape on a regular basis.
A lot of video and or image tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my
Toolbox.
top three, except podcast weekends, would be GIMP, Inkscape, and Firefox.
So Chrome, Standard Notes, and Ultimaker Cura.
You know, I just switched to Standard Notes, Joe. I listened to the last mintCast because I hadn't been on it, so give it a listen. And I think that was the one where you mentioned Standard Notes. Anyway, I had been using Joplin, but Standard Notes is nice for the syncing.
Yeah, and it's all encrypted, so it's not like anybody else actually has access to it without your password.
Right. Very nice. Norbert, what's your...
Are we listing my top most used programs on Linux?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, most certainly Brave, my daily browser, which Arch I just use it from the AUR, but it's not in the void repos either. So what I found to install it, it's an interesting way. I have to manually download the deb release of that they put on GitHub, and there's a script called exdeb that converts the deb file to something that the Linux the void package manager can install. So every now and then I just manually download and update it. But other than that, I might be LibreOffice and also OBS. I would say for YouTube stuff would be my top three.
Oh, very good. Oh, Norbert, because I wasn't here for the last mintCast, I remember you speaking for a moment about the DAC on your LG phone. The V series. Yeah, the V series also carries that same DAC. So it started with the V20 and went all the way to the V60 before LG decided to exit the smartphone.
If I go
space,
to GSM Arena and I see what the newer ones are, it looks like the most recent ones. There's a W line, the K and Q. I don't see the. I see the V60, which came out in 2020. So I assume they haven't released the new.
No, I think that's the only one that you'll get that you can get 5G on. I think it started with the 60, and unfortunately, they're
I don't really care about 5G, but the quad deck in the G7 I have is really nice. So I say it might be the best, nicest audio quality, audio experience in a phone I've ever heard.
Oh, without a doubt. As a matter of fact, here's my V30, and I'm hanging on to it simply because of the DAC. It's fantastic. There's nothing like it.
Oh, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
What headphones do you use with it?
Well, that's the trick. You won't really notice a difference if you're using very standard like earbuds or something like that. Where you do notice is when you plug in a set of high quality headphones, it can actually push them without any additional help. So I use actually all of my headsets with it, and that includes the ones I'm wearing now, which are the Philips SHP 9500s, the Monoprice Retros, and I also have a set of Superlux. I think these are the I can't remember the model offhand. 558 HDs, I think, semi-open.
Oh, the one you have on right now. That also looks like either open or semi-open.
These ones are open. These are the Philips SHP 9500s. Very detailed, little lacking in the bass and sub bass, but yeah, I really like them.
I haven't had any open headphones before because I'm always looking for something that I can use both at home and on the bus or a train or wherever I go. So I ended up I actually haven't used earbuds for like maybe around 9 years because my ears ended up being very sensitive and I would get an ear infection maybe twice a year. So I moved to only using headphones full time about 9 years ago.
Just
I
cans?
start
On ear or over ear?
over ear, always over ear, because I there was one of my classmates at the time had a really nice pair of Pioneer headphones, which he was quite an audiophile, so I trusted him, his tastes, and I got one of those that line. Then for a few months, a few years later, I ended up getting a JBL. I don't really remember, it was a Bluetooth headphone, but after that, I ended up switching to the Audio Technica headphones. I've used the 50Xs for maybe 2.5 years, and now for the past year, I've been using the 40Xs, which I actually like better. And
I'll
since
take
they are,
for. I'm sorry for.
that's the 40X, right? Or is it
Yep.
the 50?
This is the 40X. I have
Yeah.
50Xs over there and over there
Mm.
and over there and 30Xs. I have some 30Xs as well. I
Which
might.
one do you
Huh?
which one do you prefer out of the three?
I generally prefer the 50s really, but you do get a little bit better mid-range with the 40s.
Also, it might be up to taste, but I also like the higher range better on the 40s and the X50Xs.
Yeah.
That was the main reason why I switched to the 40Xs.
For all day listening, like if I'm gonna wear a set of headphones all day and I know it, I'm gonna use these modded. What is it? The Sony XB700s for the 32-hour battery and the fact that I put ear cups on them that don't sit on my earrings.
XP700 because I searched for it to it in my history and it gives you a wireless speaker, not a headphones.
These are XB700s.
Oh,
MDR
no.
XB700. Oh no,
Oh,
WH XB700.
okay.
This might be another topic we could go into later on as well, is a little bit of the audiophile side.
You can convince me to talk about headphones if you want.
I'd never guess that one.
Right.
So
But I'll
yeah,
tell you,
Okay,
if you
guys.
just want to. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to
Tony?
say good night. Got stuff I've got to do for the morning.
Now,
Okay,
so
if I
I
want
I
to blow out my eardrums, I'm gonna use these modded Skull Candy
See you,
Crushers.
Tony.
Hey, talk to you
Right.
later, Tony.
Yeah.
If I want to blow out my eardrums and really enjoy what I'm listening to, I'm gonna use these modded Skull Candy Crushers.
It's good. I like these monoprice modern retros. They're $30 on Amazon, and you put a set of Brainwaves XL earpads on them,
Yeah,
and they are extremely fun. Not the most detailed, but you want to talk about just a fun set of cans. These are really, for the price, I can't find anything that'll beat them.
the biggest difference I found from switching my old phone to this LG one is the music sounds a lot more detailed.
Right.
and
Mm.
these
I
are
was lucky
probably
because
the easiest headphones in the world to keep running. The Skull Candy Hesh 3s. Nope, second easiest. The easiest has to be basically anything from Turtle Beach.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
And if you want good, crisp mid-range, those cheap Turtle Beach headsets, they sound great.
Deliver, huh? I know they were the sound card of choice for a while. Them and Creative.
I don't even have wireless headphones. 'Cause I haven't really because my previous phone didn't because I don't have Spotify. I have a Tidal subscription, and I tend to listen to lossless music, and I haven't really ever gotten around getting wireless headphones that would support high quality music, and I think even my phone didn't support. I'm not sure what those standards are like. I don't
Joe's flexing right now.
Oh no, this is just what's close to me. I mean, there's a whole wall of them over there, and then there's
Oh.
everything that's on the cupboard back there. But yeah, I'm just seeing how many that I don't have to dig for that are in easy reach.
My goodness. How do those ones that you just grabbed, are those the
The
ones
Delta
you
in-flights?
said? Yeah, the Delta in-flights.
They're a bit underpowered, but they
All right.
sound good. They sound rich. Little lacking in well, highs. They lack in highs. But the mid-range and the bass is decent, so I have no complaints there. But yeah, just what's handy: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cans, and that's not including any of the LG series that I have. And I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are close by. And I know I have way more than that. Oh,
Well,
9,
I think
10.
this could definitely be an episode. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want me to talk about headphones, just wind me up and let me go. I will.
Right. That might not be a bad thing. Audio on Linux, I think, is sometimes something that's not represented very well.
Well, the audio on Linux, I can't get into Jack or anything because, yeah.
Oh, Jack's a little too much for me as well. But just listening, and I mean, how it compares.
So I'm pretty sure that all the stuff that goes into LG's Linux ROM that makes this quad deck work I'm pretty sure it's proprietary. So I actually did a little searching, and apparently if you put a custom ROM or a different ROM on the LG phones, you can't really use the high quality decks. So my phone is the one place where I'm really prioritizing efficiency and experience over having free software, because don't really having a good audio quality is most of what matters on my phone. And ever since I switched to headphones, I've always had over-ear headphones. But 2 years ago, I got. Have you ever heard about the KOS headphones? It's a KOS KSC75. It's a really small. I sent a link to the public room on Discord.
Right now, yeah.
These are these small clip-on headphones, and you would think that I guess this was intended to be on-the-go headphones. They are small and easy to carry, but I actually use them more at home because when the pandemic started and I had to be home a lot, and like I said, my ears get infected really easily if I have headphones on all day. So on public transport, I would tend to use the over-ear headphones because they filter noise that really well. But at home, I would start to use these more and more, because when I put them on, it actually gives more room for my ears to breathe, and it doesn't really have to filter any sound out if there's no noise around me. So I guess I'm using this the opposite way they were intended to use. I'm using the studio headphones on the bus, and I'm using I guess this jogging on the go headphones at home. Or I guess these aren't even headphones, they're earphones. They don't go into your ear, but they don't go over your head either.
No, my brother rides motorcycle, and he doesn't like in-ears either. So he had me get a couple of the clip headphones that like clip behind your ear and sit on your ear, because he wanted to be able to wear his helmet as well. And then I put those onto an LG headset, and that worked out pretty good.
So these KOS ones basically they barely filter out any noise. It's good to have at home, or when I want to interact with people, I just turn off the music and I don't have to take them off.
Yeah, those look pretty interesting.
They also sound really good. They're very cheap, and I think I'm not sure what the word. It has a titanium. Is it the driver? That's could be made of titanium. So basically, these KOS ones have very high quality innards, but very cheap appearance, and the cable actually I had to get the cable repaired. So inside they are really good. They sound very good, but outside they are pretty cheap. But I was willing to just accept that because I don't use it to go out much. I mainly use it at home.
Yeah.
Right.
No, a couple of the really cheap headphones, like Turtle Beach is cheap as hell, are some of my favorite headphones, just because they work so well for like everything.
I don't really care about how my headphones look at all because if they sound good, that's good enough for me. And also, they don't tend, if they don't break, maybe after a few months.
Well, like these headphones I use for podcasting, and they do sound really good, and they are a more expensive headset. But the only reason I really like them over some of my other headphones is because they're 2.4 gigahertz wireless, so they have a USB dongle, and that is much better stability than a Bluetooth headset when it comes to like using Linux and podcasting.
There you go.
And these are the Razer Naris, Razer Nari Ultimates.
How do you like those, Joe?
I
Because
love
I know a
them.
lot of people, they when they talk about Razer, they say that, it's a bit overpriced. You're paying for the name and whatnot.
Yeah, in some cases you are. I don't. I got these in a bulk lot, broken, and all it was that they'd come unpaired from the USB adapter. So I had to load up my Windows machine and install the Razer software and repair them, and it's worked perfectly since.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So that set of headphones that I got, I'm pretty much to the bottom of the barrel now fixing stuff. But there was a good like 100 pairs of headphones in there, and I got them for like the whole set for like $200 or something like that.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got another set of these Super Luxes that actually my daughter was using, but she was using them and really at the base of the cable where the connector went into her phone, she bent it too hard and it broke. And now I don't know whether they're not really expensive, but I'm kind of conflicted on whether I
Well,
should attempt a repair or not.
The replacement jacks cost like $1 a piece. If you have a soldering iron and solder already, then
I do not. I'm not a solderer, so
everybody should know how to solder. It should be a
I
life
probably
skill.
should.
It should be taught in like first grade.
Yeah, I probably should start messing with it. It might not be a bad project to start with because they're not
I'll
very
give it,
expensive.
if you want to learn, if you get a soldering iron, I will give a class.
Oh, all right. Sounds good. What soldering iron do you have? One that you recommend for starting?
I do. The pine sil.
Oh, you like the pine
I
saw?
love the pine sil. Yeah,
Okay.
right here. I keep it on my desk. Honestly, considering the price and the price that they charge for tips, it's actually the shipping that kind of kills you from pine. But if your order is
Yeah.
big enough, then that makes it worth it. So I also got the pine power, which powers this thing great because it has the high power USB-C port, which is what that use. Well, it can use a barrel or the USB-C, and I just use the USB-C, and then a
Okay.
long cable, and I'm good.
All right. Definitely something to look into.
And then I do recommend getting at least one small roll of low melt solder if you're planning on doing any projects that require you to work on something that's been manufactured, because they use unleaded solder, which has a very high melting point. But if you mix that with the low melt solder, then that changes the melting point and makes it a little bit easier to work with. And then a thing of standard solder.
All right. Just pick that up on Amazon or wherever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And definitely a set of helping hands.
That I do have on hand.
Oh, you have helping hands?
Well, over there somewhere. When she's not on her computer.
Oh, no, different type of helping hands.
Oh.
These are helping hands.
Oh, those. No, I do not have a set of those.
Because you don't want somebody holding it, while you're heating it up.
Why not?
Second-degree burns.
Nothing that the doctor can't fix.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So where do we think we're headed next week again? We're going apps.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss apps. Is that cool, Norbert?
Okay. I guess I could also. I don't use Linux for productivity, but I guess I could also fill in 5 to 8 minutes segment. So I'm fine. It's fine.
Sure.
I mean,
Well,
I also
if you wanted, we could contrast. You provide the applications that you use most in Windows, I assume for work
yeah.
or productivity or whatever, and then we can
Yeah,
discuss Linux-based alternatives.
Well, I do know alternatives because it's mainly Photoshop and Premiere Pro and some Illustrator as well. And I know there's Inkscape, there's Game Krita and Kdenlive Live,
And
but I
why
haven't.
you prefer the Windows versions as opposed to the Linux versions?
Oh,
Yeah.
good question. I guess I've been using them for 9 years, and no, I don't really have any. Yeah, I know.
It's just comfortable. You know those applications.
Well, we won't
I'm-
rib you about it or anything, but just an honest discussion about why you haven't switched, what it would take for you to switch on those particular applications, et cetera, et cetera. If there's a limitation based on it being for a specific job and them only allowing certain things, that's one thing. If it's your own home productivity and you've just been doing it so long, then we could make recommendations such as using both for a while, switching back and forth and seeing how it looks, or if you start to feel more comfortable with the Linux ones.
For when I wanted to do something, it's mostly home productivity, but for when I wanted to do something quickly in Photoshop, I found myself rebooting into Windows less and less and just going for GIMP more and more. But when I do stuff that I have to use Premiere Pro with, I tend to use Photoshop because they just works. I'm still haven't, because GIMP has a very different workflow from Photoshop. I know there's a mod script that turns GIMP into more like Photoshop. It changes the key bindings and stuff, but I haven't read that either. Because I assume that if I ever want to learn to use GIMP, I might as well learn to use the actual GIMP workflow, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But I do have that, and well, I haven't really tried Krita yet. I recently tried Davinci Resolve for because when I had to edit the video for my friend's wedding, and Premiere Pro doesn't have a stabilization tool built in. I just tried. I know Davinci Resolve isn't open source, but it's free to use, so it sort of ties into the Linux work. Linux apps,
Yeah, Yusuf in the chat put that his top 3 on Mint were Blender, DaVinci Resolve, and Firefox. So I don't think it's uncommon.
The other thing about that is saying what you just said on our regular show will also help get the listeners involved, because they will provide feedback and suggestions on that type of thing, what's worked for them, what they've seen that's more similar to Photoshop or anything like that.
That's true.
And I'm not saying, go rush out and use whatever they send. I'm saying it's good to get that interaction with them.
I mean, the reason most people use Windows and the Microsoft Office suite is because it's even taught in schools, so it's what people get exposed to
which
at
is
a
why
young age,
schools
so
get
they just
discounts.
Right.
Also, I think more and more schools started using Chromebooks and Google Docs, because, like I said, for the high school exam, if you in Hungary, if you take IT as a subject, I think they are obliged. They have to provide. You can either go with using the Microsoft Office apps, but I think you're allowed to choose. They have to list open source alternatives. So I think you can do the high school exam by using LibreOffice or something like that, if they have it on listed. But I'm not sure. I haven't checked.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. These were not things that were available, I'm assuming, when you were in school, Joe, and certainly not when I was in school.
No,
There was,
I don't think Photoshop was on the Apple OE2.
there was recently some that open letter from the LibreOffice developers to the OpenOffice developers,
All right,
and
I'll be back in just 1 minute.
I think it was covered on mintCast. It sort of gave me the impression that even though LibreOffice is developed more, people still there are still more people who use OpenOffice than LibreOffice. It's weird
Yeah, which
because
would be unfortunate because obviously OpenOffice isn't,
it doesn't
developed.
even support the new Microsoft formats that end in X.
Right.
Currently.
And hello to R.Y. Heinz from Germany. Hello.
Maybe it could be the case that people on Windows who want to switch to an open source alternative tend to find OpenOffice better because it has open in the name. Is what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. As a matter of fact, it's been
Uh,
some years ago now, but I actually used to recommend OpenOffice just because that's what I was familiar with when I was a Windows user. That's the Office that was free, the Office suite. So I sent that to a number of friends, that needed something and they didn't want to pay for Microsoft Office. So
pretty confident it's the opposite on Linux because most Linux distros have LibreOffice by default. So I think
right.
the majority of people on Linux will be using LibreOffice.
I think I'd agree with you absolutely. Yeah.
Question is, are there more people on Windows using an open source alternative to Microsoft Office than there are people using any Office suite on Linux?
That's a good
Because
question.
we are still the 1 to 2% of users. So if
Yeah.
there are more people in net on Windows using OpenOffice, then overall it has a bigger user base than LibreOffice.
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know that I'd have an answer for that, but yeah, I mean, you have LibreOffice on Linux, and then you have Microsoft Office, and then you have all the Google alternatives with their Office suite. Yeah, it's I don't know, who has the majority share. I'd assume Microsoft, unfortunately, but hopefully
Let's say
that
I
moves.
wouldn't be. Could be even over 90%. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it could be. We'll have to see. I don't know. Be a good question for the user base out there to see who's using what in terms of Office suites. Oh, Mark says, "Good day, all. I have a computer I'm going to install Mint on today. Probably going for LMDE. Hey, good for you, Mark. That's an excellent choice, and can't go wrong, no matter which Mint you choose." Have you ever used the Debian edition yourself, Norbert?
I haven't even used regular Mint.
Oh, you
Daily
haven't?
driver.
Oh, okay. All right.
Guess I'm the old one out in the podcast. I'm not sure. I also think that it's about keeping the balance. So one Mint user left, Leo, and we gained one more Mint user, new.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, no, I like to try a little bit of everything, but in terms of just everyday use, yeah, Mint just still does it for me. And LMD is a solid choice. I'm very excited for when they update the base to Debian 11.
But yeah, we
Yeah.
need to get more people posting in that music room in the Discord.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm probably a little boring and one-sided in what I post.
Yeah, I've tried to post some interesting things that I found instead of most of the common stuff that I listen to. Yeah, that headset that I just saw, where was that? Was that in public? Yeah, the KS75s. Basically those, except some cheaper ones, I turned into a motorcycle headset, Bluetooth. But yeah, I've tried to post some interesting stuff in there, like that Samurai Metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
pretty
listened
good.
to just about everything you put in there, and yeah, there's some interesting things for sure.
Yeah, I like heavy metal, but yeah, you like heavier metal.
Yeah, I'm afraid the older I get, the more extreme it's become. Although I have been purchasing some older kind of I don't know, I guess more traditional stuff. Here's one I got recently from a band called Satan, which is a new wave of British heavy metal act. This one's from
Baby metal is good,
2013.
Mark. I got my kids interested in baby metal.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
if
How
it's
Satan,
got
you were
live
saying?
instruments, you know.
how heavy metal are we talking about here?
Well, baby metal isn't that heavy. It's more like candy
I'm not
metal.
talking about heavy metal. Ben George said you tend to listen to heavier and heavier metal.
Well,
Everything from Black Sabbath, who I think most would credit
Mhm.
as the originators of heavy metal, all the way to the most extreme.
yeah,
So Portal, Nal Nathrak, a lot of the very, very,
I feel
you
like a
know,
lot of the stuff that he's been posting is a bit closer to the death metal range.
Mm.
yeah, a lot of death metal.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Wasn't
Little
Black
bit.
Sabbath specifically associated with doom metal?
Yeah, very much so. A huge influence on
Mm.
Doom. Yeah.
The past years, I found a
Sorry,
band, a
my wife needs
progressive
some
metal
help. I'll be
band
back in a few minutes.
called Elder. You have heard
Sorry,
of
Norbert.
them?
Well, who was that?
I found a band called Elder.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
starting. They're actually having a. Think I found them when there was a listing for a concert for them in Hungary a few years ago, and I just missed it because I didn't even know who they were. And I started listening to them, and I they have quite long songs with a lot of instrumental parts, so I would tend to listen to them while doing work on the computer that doesn't involve me with that I don't have to need to have headphones on. So not for editing, but for example Photoshop work.
Yeah.
And they're going to have another concert in Hungary next year, so I'm definitely going to attend that.
Very good. Yeah, if you like them, then I'd also recommend a band called Pallbearer.
Oh,
And
they're going to better support. Oh
oh,
no, wait,
okay,
yeah. I
excellent.
think they're going to better support. I haven't listened to the music yet, but I wanted to check it out before the
I
concert.
imagine you'll enjoy them very much if you like Elder, and also Chemis, which is Khemmis, and they have 3 albums out, and they're from Colorado, and also very good, very much along the lines of Paul Bearer. So both. And Mark said Lorna Shore, absolutely, Lorna Shore. If you're into the more deathcore side of things, yeah, very, very good band.
So it will be September 2020, Elder, Pallbearer, and with special guest Iris. I don't know them either.
That
They
one
only
does
have
not sound
they only
familiar.
have one album out, so I think it's the last year, so
Sure, yeah,
either
newer band,
they haven't coming in. But I
right?
wanted to. There's a website called musicmap.com, music-map.com, where
Mhm.
if you type in a band name, it will spill out a bunch of other bands, and the distance between the band names is supposed to be how similar they are.
Oh, very
I
good.
think
Yeah.
I think I found a few bands based on this. There's also, but I just put in Elder, and I also have Mastodon listed here, which I heard about them. I think they're going to be supporting another band that I want to see.
They're excellent.
Oh,
Yeah, if
no.
I have their entire discography, and they've got a
Oh.
new one coming out the 29th of this month.
I also see Stone Jesus here. They are more of a. They are also doom metal, and been to one of the concerts last year.
Hmm.
It was a year before last year. So I decided to. I went to a concert maybe 4 years ago for the band Intervals. They are instrumental.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
familiar with them.
Oh, so I would assume you listen to progressive metals also as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, all forms of
Well,
metal.
it was they had a Polyphia as support as well as Nick Johnston. He's a solo act. He's a guitarist. Do you know him?
Who is it?
Nick Johnston.
Not
Oh,
familiar with solo work,
yes.
no.
So I looked at who the support were. I actually found the concert. I highly recommend it to me because Spotify recommended me a song by Polyphia, and that's how I got to. So I got to know Intervals and Nick Johnston, and out of the three, I actually enjoyed Nick Johnston's music the most. So at the
Really?
concert, I was at the merch table, and I decided to pick up his album, and he was actually there, and he signed it without even me asking, and that got me down the path of where I wanted, because if I bought all the albums that I like, I wouldn't be able to buy them all. So I made a rule for myself that I would buy an album if I have if I have a chance to get it signed by the musicians themselves. So I'm not sure if you've seen it. I don't have a webcam now because I'm not on the laptop, but on the wall I have put up quite a few albums that I have signed or not signed yet, and that was the first one. So since then, I would sometimes, when I see that there's going to be a concert for a band that I like, that's small. So I have never been to a large arena concert with like thousands of people. There are a number of small venues, maybe a few hundred people fit in there. So whenever there's a smaller concert like that, and it's a band that I like, I would attend. And even if there's for example, when I went to the I think it was the Intervals concert, and I went home and I got a newsletter from I think the venue posted on the event another concert next year by a band called Caligula's Horse. They're an Australian band.
Australian,
and I was
yeah.
I was like, I was surprised because they're also not a very big band. So I was like, I enjoyed that concert, and if they have it recommended, the venue has it have them recommended as a similar artist, I should check them out. And they ended up being one of my favorite bands. So because that was easy because they shared the event for the concert. So even when I started listening to them, I knew there was going to be a concert for them, and so I ended up with a signed CD for them as well. Do you know Haken?
Very nice.
Band Haken.
Yeah, Haken, excellent. From Spain, right?
Oh, they're from the US.
Or are they? I thought they were from Spain.
Oh. So for example, they also had a concert in one of the small venues. There's actually a refurbished cargo ship in Budapest, because there's a river Danube running in the middle of Budapest, and there's a retired cargo ship that has been turned into a music venue. It's called the A38 because I think the name of the ship was I don't remember. I have to look it up.
My wife's trying to get me liquored up.
I'm telling you, Joe, you're busting out the heavyweight stuff over there. No, that's fantastic, Norbert. And the more intimate the venue, the better.
Okay, so it's the Artemovsk 36. It was a Ukrainian ship. And funny enough, there was so Stone Jesus are from Ukraine. So I went to a concert of a Ukrainian band on a venue that used to be a Ukrainian cargo ship.
Ah, from Ginger's stomping grounds.
Well,
Have you heard Ginger? Ginger, J-E-R.
Sorry, for the first time I thought you were saying something about the drinks to Joe.
Yeah.
Is it a band? Ginger?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
The name again, Ginger.
J-I-N-J-E-R. They're very.
Is it just Ginger? Because I heard something.
Yeah, just Ginger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're quite popular from the Ukraine.
Why do they say the Ukraine instead of just Ukraine?
Yeah, Ukraine. I guess.
I guess the Ukraine must be correct because I hear a lot of people say that.
I think it was in the past. I think now it's just Ukraine.
So I ended up pre-ordering the Vector album by Haken, and I went to their concert. But I guess it should have been a red flag because they had separate tickets for a meet and greet, and that was so. I always. Whenever I went to a concert to the ship venue, after the concert, the artist would usually come down and just do little meet and greet. But for that one, you had to buy an additional ticket for meet and greet. So I was a little bit surprised by that because there were bigger artists like Joe Satriani who came here who had separate tickets for meet and greet. So I was because I was a bit sad because I would have assumed for a band the size of Haken that if I took the effort and bought one of their albums on CD, I don't have any vinyls because I don't have vinyl player, and with the CDs I have the ability to just rip them, and it's comforting to have music on my phone that I actually paid for and not downloaded. Because I guess a lot of albums give you link codes for digital downloads, but none of the ones I have had. So I would just rip them and listen to that on my phone.
Oh,
So
really?
there's also a Polish band called Riverside who I went to see.
No, I haven't heard of them.
There's a prog metal subreddit, and I think it was 2019 or 2018 when their latest album came out. The subreddit voted it the prog album of the year. The concert was before that.
Well, a couple if
Maybe
you're
after that.
really into prog, also from Australia, Ne Obliviscaris.
Say that again.
Ne, N-E, Obliviscaris, and don't ask
Yeah,
me to
I know
spell that
them. I
right
haven't.
now. Okay.
It must be Latin, but
Yes,
Mm.
they're
I've heard the name a
very
number
good.
of. I've heard the name. I've seen them posted in the subreddit, but I haven't checked them out yet.
Yep. And Black Crown Initiate would be another.
It's also a name.
recommendation.
It's also a name that I've before, either on the subreddit or a concert listing.
Yeah, they're
I'm
very good.
also I'm also into less heavier music. I say that, but ironically, my favorite Dream Theater album is Train of Thought.
Oh yeah, very good. Very good stuff.
They
I'm
also
into
I
a
was- I
wide
think-
plethora of music. But,
I think I'm more into the Liquid Engine Experiment albums than Dream Theater themselves.
Hmm.
And I was very surprised when my friend who had a wedding recently. He plays piano and the guitar, and his sister also plays both. And I was surprised because they performed a song by Liquid Engine Experiment called Hourglass at the wedding, and I ended up using that song for the ceremony part of the wedding in the video that I did for them.
Oh,
and
right.
I ended up using all Liquid Engine Experiment songs in the video. It was Hourglass, By Accident, State of Grace, and one from the new album, Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh,
I was very
good.
happy how it turned out. So their choice of music for the wedding inspired me to use them. I haven't listened to Neobliviscaris before. I have a bit of a hard time getting into harsh vocals. Because there was a band called Rivers of Nihil or Nihil. I'm not sure.
Yes, just
They-
packed up their newest album. Actually, I'm very
And
very-
they also, I think they also have a concert here either this month or next month, but I haven't really managed to get into the music because sometimes I like harsh vocals. For example, I'm not sure if Chester Bennington is a good example of harsh vocals because his voice is not the typical metal voice. But there are some, for example, there's one or two Haken songs where there are segments with harsh vocals, and I have no problem with those. But the very harsh vocals, I can't really get into.
well, then you better ignore all the recommendations I gave you.
Okay. Have you ever heard about Thank You Scientist? Is the name of the band.
Yes.
They are sort of rock but not heavy. I think their latest album, Terraformer, is one of my most favorite albums currently.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of their things. Interesting stuff.
I really like their use of saxophone and trombone in their songs.
Yeah.
They had a very different sound from anything I've listened to before. So
Actually, Rivers of Nile also uses quite a bit of saxophone. Yeah. And Joe, for you, I haven't touched this yet, but Prost. I don't know if he's listening to that, fan.
I'm listening
oh,
to you
I
guys.
thought it was the name of a band. So
Sorry,
confused a
no.
second time.
I was just saying Prost, you know?
Yeah.
Cheers. This is Old Smoky Moonshine. Whoa. And that is definitely there.
There are two smaller bands that I found this year. One of them is called Forming the Void. Not
Oh, I'm
where
sorry,
they're from.
not to interrupt you, Norbert, but Leo's taken off out of the chat, so just want to say, see you later, Leo.
Later,
Take
Leo.
it easy.
If he wasn't a chameleon in my mind, if he was an alligator, I could say "see you later, alligator." I wouldn't get the chance. Yes.
Yeah, he also said his top 3 applications are Firefox, Kden Live, and Audacity. Yeah. Well, you can certainly
Could
see
also
that.
we could make that a list of 4 because I'm pretty sure everyone will be listing their browser. So it could be your browser and 3 additional applications.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I mean, like they said, I think it was on Linux User Space. He was talking about the fact that basically the browser is becoming its own operating system within itself.
I think that when Chrome OS came out for the first time, there wasn't even a desktop. You just had the Chrome UI at the top and the tabs.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong. So I think you could just have a browser. Also, I made a document in the mintCast folder called Topic Ideas. I tried to list the recent topics from the recent episodes based on the show notes, and at the top, I think we could list. So whenever any one of us has an idea, we could just list them here and then discuss them before the show and pick one of those. So we wouldn't be sitting down without having any ideas. Everyone would have some ideas what they would like the topic to be.
Sure.
Just one comment on music. I found 2 bands recently. One of them is called Forming the Void, and the other one is The Vintage Caravan.
I've been listening to Clutch lately. I don't know if...
Oh, wow, from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes back. Actually, yeah, I used to listen to Clutch. Pitch Shifter. A lot of those old 90 bands, actually, I've been listening to. I'll go ahead and over.
Sorry, finish. I'm having to look it up first.
Oh, I actually ran across an old picture of myself and a friend. We went to San Francisco to see a Static X concert, and we were just driving around, and who else would be walking around on the sidewalk but Wayne Static? So we pulled over and took pictures with him and talked to him for a while. Unfortunate that he passed away, but a real nice guy.
I saw Crew Shadow in concert.
Who was that?
Crew Shadow, CRUX Shadow.
Huh. Haven't heard them before.
You should check them out.
Yeah.
Their early stuff is pretty good. I like a really good violin. It's one of the reasons I like Lindsey Sterling.
Where are they from? The spelling of it, it's
He's
weird.
I'm pretty sure he's from California.
So Crew as in CRUX.
Yeah, all one word. Crew Shadows.
So how are you supposed to pronounce the Linux distro that's spelled CRUX?
Crew Crux.
So I would assume that's Crux. So I had a sort of a phase last year when I would listen to 70s music. So for example, Rush or Yes.
Oh, very good.
Not many of the albums. So okay, so
Yeah, I've been to Willie Nelson concerts too, Clayton.
Ah,
My first concert that I ever went to was a Willie Nelson concert, and that was in basic training.
really?
I didn't have a choice, but I would have gone anyway.
Yeah, you gotta respect Willie. I love the old outlaw countries.
from Yes I listened to Fragile, Tales from Topographic Oceans, and the album called 90125, which allegedly was named by the production number of the album. And from Rush, I haven't really went through their discography either. But around 6 years ago, I googled literally googled the best instrumental metal songs because I wanted to test if listening to instrumental metal would help me focus on whatever I'm studying. Then I came to the conclusion that I would start listening to the songs without studying, and I think listening to string instruments is not good for studying because I think I read it because the sound of string instruments is more close to human speech, and the article recommended listening to piano music if someone wants to listen to music while studying because it's the brain doesn't see it as close to human speech.
Okay,
Because
I think I
I'm not
have a good recommendation for you.
Have you ever listened to symphonic death metal?
I also listened to some albums by Nightwish. I think it was Imaginarium and what was the other one? One that has
That's certainly symphonic.
Oceanborn. Yeah,
But try the Ocean.
Ocean. Oh, don't they? I think they also have harsh vocals.
Do they? I thought
The
that was
Ocean.
clean, but I may be wrong.
I mean, I think it was 2 years ago when their latest album, at the time, came out, and I looked into them, but I think it had after a couple of songs, maybe I should listen to the instrumental version of the album, because sometimes when I can't get into the vocals, and if the band has an instrumental version available, I could try to listen to that.
Okay, try also Sonata, Sunnata. They're from Poland, and they have some very nice atmospheric progressive metal.
I also tried a band called, I think it's Godspeed Black Emperor.
Yeah.
It's not the first most atmospheric. I haven't really listened to them. I listened to one of their albums a few years ago while trying to. I didn't get up getting into listening to music while I'm studying. It works better when I'm working, but not while studying, I guess. I guess I'm the sort of person that likes just peace and quiet while studying.
Yeah.
Because I had a few cases when I would be tired and start listening to some heavier metal and I would fall asleep. And I also had a friend who would usually listen to rock or metal music before falling asleep. So I'm one of those people who find listening to metal relaxing, but I'm not sure if it helps me focusing on something.
No, I like it too. I actually listen to black metal to fall asleep because I'm weird like that. What about you? You ever use metal to fall asleep?
No.
No.
I use audiobooks.
That works as well.
So have you heard about either of those bands the smaller bands that I mentioned, the Vintage Caravan and Forming the Void?
No, I'll have to put those on the list as well with Cruise Shadows. I haven't heard
listen to some of the albums. I listened to the latest albums that came out this year by Vintage Caravan called Monuments, and really like that. It sounds a bit different from what I've heard from the other albums, but I really like that album. And I haven't really gotten into that much to Forming the Void yet. It just, for some reason, the name of the band got my attention. So I guess sometimes that's also an advantage. And I'm not sure, they're a bit similar to Elder, so maybe that's why I started listening to them.
Yeah, I just pulled them up. Hey Joe, was that a keyboard, by the way, you were showing earlier?
What win?
I don't know if you held up a keyboard earlier.
No.
I'm sorry, we were talking to it. Oh, okay. Might have been the box.
You listen to any...
was able to pick me up a Fitbit Versa 3, and I'm trying to set it up, but evidently my wrist and this band don't go together.
Is it just not too tight?
Yeah. I'm going to look and see what else is out there. Because I've already got, the Samsung S3 Frontier watch.
I wonder how the Pine... What is it? The Pine Watch or Pine
Time.
I don't know what they call it. Pine Time. There you go. I wonder how that is. If it's just too developmental. I know the Pine phone is still miles from...
I don't know. I could ask Honky Magoo next time on the Linux Lugcast, or you can jump on Linux Lugcast anytime you want to.
Oh, yeah, I've been interested in that, but after the Pine phone, that still is quite a ways off. Even with the Pine phone Pro, it really wasn't the hardware so much as just the operating systems that just are not ready at all. So, sorry, Norbert, didn't mean to interrupt you.
I would just wanted to ask if you listen to any psychedelic rock or psychedelic metal.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you go into the music channel over there, I just put up something from a band called Kal-El, which is a reference from Superman, and they're very much a desert psychedelic style of metal.
Mhm.
along the lines of, say,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, I'm losing the name offhand.
The band called Australia called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yes, I do have a
Yeah,
couple of
okay.
their albums. Yeah.
Listen to Odd Bands and the latest two albums, the KJ and I Love You.
Very good. Do you like Queens of the Stone Age?
Oh, well, I only really listened to the Clockwork album.
Okay.
But I've listened to songs for the Deaf maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it's a very good album.
I like the like Clockwork better. I think I know it's a very divisive album among the fans
I
because
enjoy it personally.
that's where their style started to change, and I guess some people didn't like that. I'm not sure because I haven't listened to their older stuff, just these two albums.
I would go with Kyuss, Kyuss, Welcome to Sky Valley, from 1994. That's including Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age. He was on guitar. I think he was only about 17 or somewhere around there, but
These
that's
are from the
quintessential.
90s.
I'm sorry?
Let's just look them up, and it's from the 90s.
Yeah, from the 90s.
When did Queens of the Stone Age form?
Good question.
They,
I can't recall offhand.
kind of. I mean, they have a lot of albums, so it could be early 80s or
They were later than
late
that.
80s.
Yeah, because Josh Homme is the guitar player singer for Queens, and he was originally in Kyuss, and their debut was '94.
So Kyuss was before Queens of the Stone Age.
Yes,
Okay,
they
that makes
came
sense. Okay.
before.
Because I had the impression of Queen of the Stone Age being a band from the early 2000s, and I guess it makes sense with
Yeah,
this.
I think that's about right. Yeah, probably around there. Yeah.
Have you
But
ever seen
Kyuss-
Have you ever seen the show Supernatural?
Yeah, once or twice.
I did. Yeah.
In one of the episodes, someone there was a house with a bunch of weird symbols, and they turned out to be not actual like supernatural stuff. They were just a bunch of nonsensical symbols because they found that one of them was the logo of the band Blue Oyster Cult.
Ah.
And I ended up
It.
I think in one of the episodes there was a cameo by their album Fire of Unknown Origin, and that actually got me to listen to that album, and then I ended up liking it. So
Did
if
you
you're
say
familiar
you're a
with
fan? Yeah, good.
not really a fan, but I've listened to that album. I started listening to it. I mean, I listened to it once 2 years ago. I haven't really liked it only 3 years ago, but I just started listening to it again last year around this time, and I managed to get into it. I've also listened to the Secret Treaties, but only a couple of times. Maybe I should give a shot to the entire discography.
It sounds like you also might like Animals as Leaders with
Oh,
Tosin Abasi.
I've listened to a few songs from them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are one of the names most often posted on the prog metal subreddit.
I'm sure, yeah. They're very
They,
popular.
but they also post some not non-metal stuff that maybe that's just close to metal. There's an artist from Australia called Pliny.
Yeah,
And
plenty.
yeah, I've been on one of his concerts as well.
Have you?
Mm.
Yeah, he's very
He's
good.
a
Very talented.
He's a very down to earth nice guy. He was just wearing a white t-shirt on stage, and he was very nice with fans. Very wholesome guy is what I want to say.
Right. You still with us, Joe?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I think.
My camera disconnected though.
Yeah, it looks like you're frozen there.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like Droid Cam stopped after X amount of time. Either that or my camera overheated.
Oh.
My phone. It's entirely possible. Yeah. It actually died.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the battery died.
Oh. Dope.
So So I guess there's a time limit on that one.
All right, so I
Either that
guess
or I need a different hub with more power output. But you know what?
Hmm.
You know what?
what's that?
I can switch phones.
Oh, very good. So, well, I guess that wraps this one up.
No, we can
Maybe
wrap
not.
up. I'm good with wrapping up.
Up to you guys. You feel like we're all finished here?
I was just letting you
Oh.
guys continue to talk.
I
Yes,
know
I
we're
should.
just nerding out on music, which we could probably do for the rest of the night. So,
I was thinking that maybe I could include music in the Wanderings that the way Joe used to include books.
hey, why not?
Because we could have a discussion about music, but that's not really Linux focused, so the
So,
Linux should
neither
stay
is
Linux
soldering.
focused.
You know what? Actually, I used to. I really enjoyed when you guys used to talk about the books, Joe. You and Moss.
I had complaints, so I stopped.
Really?
Yeah. People
Oh,
were
that's
complaining.
unfortunate.
I can
Wow.
start talking about audiobooks again, trust me. I still listen.
Oh, well, hey, I'm all for it. I enjoy my so.
Well, if you listen to audiobooks, I would love to have a discussion
Sure.
on the show
Yep.
during the bi-weekly. We'll discuss what audiobooks are our favorites.
Let's do it.
What's your
Mhm.
favorite audiobook?
Oh my goodness. Gosh, I've listened to so many. It's so hard
Well,
to.
I think that question is not not entirely fair, because if something is available as an audiobook, there's a really big chance
Hey.
it's also available as a book. So even if you don't listen
Statistically
to
speaking,
other,
yes. But
yes.
audiobooks are slightly different than regular books because with audiobooks you have a reader and you do get some of their opinion involved in it. And then
This
there
is
are other
true.
things like audio quality that goes into something like that. So
And vocal inflection and different audio readers. I mean, just the people that are actually doing the reading can
audio
really.
dramas.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I'm big on. Well, if audio dramas are also included, I should say the Big Finish stuff.
yeah, I absolutely think audio dramas would be included.
When you say they we also get the narrative's opinion, do you mean in terms of non-fiction books or fiction books as well?
Yes, either one. If it's read by somebody, then they inflect in certain places.
Yes.
I think the
Absolutely.
guy
Huge
who did
influence.
the Song of Ice and Fire audiobooks had a different voice for each of the hundreds of characters.
Yeah, and
Sometimes he would have to go back and re-listen to them, or maybe really read them to remember the voice he used.
yeah, and that
Sure.
does change things, especially in later books if they've forgotten, if there's been a long spread between the
Mm.
recording of two of them. I've heard that before. And then, yeah, if if you look at the Harry Potter audiobooks, there's two versions of it. There's the US version and the UK version. And the
Also,
two,
because they changed a couple of names, like the Philosopher's Stone became the Sorcerer's Stone.
right, but the accents and the inflection is also different throughout the entire series. So
But I would, if I were American, I would see myself going for the British version, because it would be more authentic, because the movies are also have British actors and it's set in Britain, so I think I would go for the British version. Totally understand if someone would want to go to the American version. It's just more authentic. Do you remember when you recommended the Stormlight Archive audio
Yeah.
dramas? I haven't looked into them yet, but I think the name Brandon Sanderson was familiar, and I remember that one of my brother a few months or weeks before that had the Brandon Sanderson books recommended to him by someone. I haven't asked him yet if he started reading them, but I should, because it's just a very nice coincidence. So if the books are good, I might end up just reading them before the audio dramas.
Sure thing.
yeah, well,
Plus-
I'd recommend doing both, honestly. Read
Yeah.
the hard copy and also listen to the audio drama. And if you really want, you can also listen to the audio book. I do have friends that could not make it through the audio book. They said it was just too slow and too tedious. But then they listened to the audio drama and they loved every second of it.
Well, I'd say that the audio dramas are the superior medium in my opinion, because you still have actors' performance, but you still can get to use your imagination because you don't see anything.
Right. So.
And you can still be productive because you can do stuff by listening. So it's kind of a shame that it's not very, like, radio dramas, audio dramas, they are not very popular anymore.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It's like when books came out and people were still telling stories. What's the word? In Hungarian we say from mouth to mouth. When the story just spreads by people telling it and it's not written down. What's the English phrase for that?
No, yeah, about the same. What?
I'm going to look for it because I should know, because I know the phrase. Word of mouth. Okay, it's the same
Word of
thing.
mouth, yeah.
So that when people complain that having books to read might make the people dumber, and when the radio came out, people who would prefer books would say that people might get dumber because of listening to radio. And when TV came out, people also again thought that it would make people dumber instead of listening to the radio. So because each generation thinks it's wiser than the next one and more experienced than the previous one. So with that in mind, really no medium is bad, because even when there's a movie adaptation of something, that you can experience someone's vision, someone that's usually other than the author, but it's still an interesting thing to see the vision. So,
Right.
but I would think in a world where people read books less and less, shouldn't expect audio dramas to suddenly get more popular.
Well, yeah, it just
For
depends
example-
on sort of the format you like, you know. As you said, different people have
Is it
different
just-
ideas.
Is it just that Audible is pushing the ads on YouTube with everyone, or are audiobooks actually becoming not popular than they used to be? Because if they do,
No,
then
audiobooks are definitely becoming more popular than they used to be, but a lot of that is production quality has gone up considerably. Like when I first started listening to audiobooks, granted it was in a digital format, but most of the audiobooks were converted from cassette to a digital format. And so throughout the whole audiobook, you'd have one, low audio quality, and two, an audible tape hiss, even on the digitals. So, yeah, great improvements in the last 10 years. And honestly, it used to be that I preferred for the author not to give, or for the reader to not give inflection, to let me put my own inflection on things. But then as I listened to different authors do entire book series, or different readers do entire book series, my opinion kind of changed. I really enjoyed the inflections that they were adding in, the sense of tension that was added. So yes, things have improved and become more popular.
Agreed. And I started on cassettes. I was working in an office in a filing room with no windows, you know, working with paper files, so you had to pass the time.
I worked at the night shift at a 7-Eleven. So
Been there, done that. Also did a Chevron for 3 years on the night shift, and I know what you mean. So yeah, it was back on cassettes. It was just you got what you got, and it was nice. So it helped pass the time.
Last year, around when the final season of the Clone Wars came out, I listened to some of the new canon Star Wars books. It was Dark Disciple, Lords of the Sith, and The Catalyst, and all of them were by the Penguin Random House Productions, and directed by Jonathan Davis. And I didn't know him before, but he was very good at making like a Yoda voice or a Dooku voice or a Obi-Wan voice, and it was I guess it's usually distracting when multiple people read an audiobook, but he was just one guy reading an audiobook, but he heard his different voices were different enough to fit the characters, but not different enough to throw you off. So, and it also had some background music and sound effects, so I would say those were very high production.
I'm sorry. I know there's 3 Star Wars. I'm not aware of any.
Can I say something controversial? I think the Star Wars universe
I haven't watched it yet.
Dude, watch The Mandalorian.
Really? I was so hurt internally from
didn't even
everything,
watch
all the
the-
other traumatic.
I did watch the prequel series, and then I watched like the first of the new series, but I don't
Ah.
think I
Also
watched.
watched the first of the new series. I didn't. It was okay. It was just a recycled plot from the the original movie, and I never ended up watching. What was it? Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker.
It was terrible. Just the unceremonious deaths of Han Solo and Luke alone. I mean, just the way they ended those character lines was.
I didn't
awful.
even know Luke died in the movie, but I don't really like. I around 6 years ago, I decided to go through everything Star Wars canonically, not chronologically, because before The Force Awakens, I rewatched the original trilogy, and after I came out from the cinema unimpressed, I realized maybe I should rewatch the prequel trilogy because I never watched the Clone Wars, the 2008 Clone Wars series, neither the
No.
2003 one, and I wanted to watch the Clone Wars series. And at that point, I just considered the prequel. I don't consider the Clone Wars series to be an animated series based on the prequel trilogy, and consider the prequel trilogy to be movies based on the Clone Wars series because I enjoyed the Clone Wars animated series so much more than the prequel movies. And I actually ended up watching the. So I've seen the Star Wars prequel movies many years before that. So I watched the 1 and 2. I then watched the Clone Wars throughout maybe 2 years, and then I watched the. Ended up only watching. There was a fan edit of the final arc of the Seven Sins that came out last year. That is happening at the same time as the Revenge of the Sith, and there was a big maybe 4 to 5 hour edit of the two of them edited in the chronological order. So watching that was my main experience of watching Revenge of the Sith because it was a very long time ago that I've seen it, and I have to say in and of itself, Revenge of the Sith is a very okay Star Wars movie. I think out of the six, the worst one is Attack of the Clones. I would say that Revenge of the Sith is a very decent movie, and while having it switch from and on to the final arc with Ahsoka of the Clone Wars, it actually makes a very nice coherent story because there are callbacks to. Because, for example, there was a scene when at the beginning of the scene it was live action and the edit and the end of the scene ended up being in animation because in the animated episode they actually made a second part of the exact scene. It was a fun edit and it wasn't that seamless the editing, but it was still a nice experience. Might be the best Star Wars experience. I kind of like the Clone Wars better than the original trilogy. I know it's a controversial thing to say, but I didn't grow up with the original movies, and I think my very first experience in watching Star Wars at a young age was like maybe the original Star Wars movie or the prequel movies. So I don't have a long attachment to the original trilogy.
Right, and I think that's where we're at.
Then-
with that. I'm an old fart, so I like the old ones the best.
Recently, with some friends, I watched. It was someone got an original film of the first Star Wars movie, and they made a digital version of it as it was seen in cinemas in '77, I think it was. So
Yes,
it
the remastered,
so yes,
the
no,
unofficial remastered.
but there
Right.
are multiple remasters, but this was it was taken from a film. So I watched that last year with some of my friends, and I didn't find myself enjoying it more than the special edition of the movie. Because, for example, in the original movie, we don't see Jabba ever. The first time we see him is in Return of the Jedi. But since I've only seen the special edition of A New Hope before, where I do know how Jabba is there, I guess back in the day when it came out, it was nice and mysterious thing of who is Jabba, what he must look like. But since for the first time I started watching Star Wars, it had that scene in it. Having that scene not included, it didn't really give me much more of an enjoyment as the special edition. I think the special editions have some decent improvements. For example, the scenes in Sky City when they running through the corridors. In the special edition, they have windows in the corridors, and we can actually see the sky outside, and it gives you more the feel that it's a floating city in the sky. So I think I don't hate the special editions. Maybe because that was the first time those were my first
Right, that was your
yeah,
first
yeah,
exposure to the
explosions
series.
on
Yeah.
this place. But like for example, the song that they switched the original song in the Return of the Jedi to a new song. I guess that's new song is. I can understand why people say it's not, because sometimes when you have a lot of people dressed up in as aliens in costumes and then they put in one or two CGI characters, you can tell the contrast between them.
Right.
For
And
example, I don't have any problem. For example, Jar Jar's character, however controversial it may be, the CGI they did for him is pretty decent. I've seen one of a blooper reel once where they had the actor itself himself in a motion capture suit on the scene. So even when they had a blooper, they could just replace him with Jar Jar. So you had a blooper where someone messes something up, but then you have Jar Jar laughing on the side. So I think his character was. Yeah, you should watch The Mandalorian because I guess it's in such a high people have hold it in such a high regard in part because how the sequel trilogy was so bad, but it's a decent series in itself. It's made by Favreau and who's the other guy that was involved in the Clone Wars?
well, that's what I was going to ask Joe. Like, what makes the Mandalorian? What do you think? Like, part of the canon or so
Well,
special?
honestly, it doesn't do well canon-wise, but
What way?
it's just a good story. Okay, first of all, you add a character, you add this Grogu character, and then you hand him off to Luke, and everybody's, oh my god, it's Luke Skywalker, and then they stop and think about it, and that kid's gonna die, is gonna get killed by Anakin.
Right.
When?
When Anakin goes and kills all of the Jedi kids.
That was in episode 3, and The Mandalorian takes place after episode 6.
Mm,
So
no, it
it's
doesn't
after
take
that.
place after episode 6.
Does because it takes there people keep talking about how the empire is over, but it's in practice it's not really over because there are some overlords who are still.
No,
I'm 100% sure that the Mandalorian takes place because there's even it takes place after the
you are
original
right.
trilogy. Because there's a New Republic and there's some remnants of the Empire. Doesn't get killed. The only way
You're right,
Grogu
that
could
doesn't make sense at all if Anakin is Luke's father. Yeah, you are right. I don't know why I...
So the only way Grogu could affect canon if it affects
no,
the sequel
when
trilogy.
Kylo Ren
Oh,
goes
okay.
and
Oh,
kills...
Kylo Ren kills everyone at the.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
I was
it's the-
thinking incorrectly. It's when Kylo Ren goes and kills, like, all the other Jedi.
There was a very wide fan theory about how the Mandalorian series. How have any of you seen the Star Wars Rebels animated series?
Have not.
It's it's despite I was a bit put off it by the animation style, but it gets quite decent in the second half. So there was a fan theory. So basically, I'm not sure if it's much of a spoiler if it's not from the movies, but the main character in it called Ezra Bridger. The series gets into some of the more mystical parts of how the Star Wars universe works, and there's something called the word between words. It's a way he manages to go back in time. It is part of the canon technically, and meets Ahsoka, because there's a scene, there's a big confrontational scene between Ahsoka and Darth Vader in the series, but we don't really see the outcome of it, just the two of them leaving from the fight, so we don't know what happened.
Right, and
And,
we don't know where
yes.
they're going to continue on with The Mandalorian, since Grogu was, like, the main point of The Mandalorian.
Well, I have a friend who is really big into Star Wars, and he said that they really missed because Mark Hamill is very old now, so they have less and less of a chance to make a series about him actually being a teacher at a Jedi Academy. Which I guess a lot of people would want to see. But then again, that would be ruined by the fact that Kylo Ren killing all of the one is, I just solved this by not thinking about the sequel trilogy at all because I was going through the stuff chronologically, so that's why I watched the Star Wars Rebels as well, and then I watched the 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and I was like, well, now I'm at the point where I have nothing canon to watch other than the sequel movies. But then I decided still not to watch them because I guess it's I'm not sure if it's a good it's a good mentality to go into it, but until I've not seen them, I don't have to process them. I don't have to care about them whether they're canon or not. Because so what I wanted to say, there's a fan theory. So we don't see the end of the fight between Ahsoka and Darth Vader, but in the Force Awakens movie, what's the girl's name? Wait.
I can't remember offhand.
Oh, that's a bit awkward. The main character, sort of the
Yeah.
main character. It's Rey. It was Rey, is it?
Ray, yeah.
So in one of the scenes, she has a vision where she sees a lot of dead Jedi Masters, hears a lot of dead Jedi Masters, and voice of Ahsoka is among them. Basically, there's a fan theory that in the timeline where the sequel series takes place, Ahsoka is dead, killed by Darth Vader when they're in their confrontation. But because in the when I say time travel, it doesn't sound as bad because it's not a big plot point. It's just in that episode, Ezra, the character, goes back in when he sees Ahsoka when he has a fight with Vader and he ends up saving her. So there's a fan theory that by this, bear with me, Ezra created a different timeline where Ahsoka is not dead, and because we see people. The fan theory is basically that Ezra's actions created a different timeline, and that's where the Mandalorian takes place. So they've said this could be a way for having a different canon other than the sequel movies and not having to care about what happened in the sequel movies because they did so bad with the reviews and among the fans. But I think the Mandalorian creators shut down this theory when it's, like I said, it's a kind of a wild theory. I wouldn't have minded if it was true because I don't really have any problem with decanonizing the sequels trilogy. But I think so when you said where the Mandalorian is going because Grogu and the Mandalorian is now separated, I'm pretty sure with the Mandalorian Disney is setting up a multiple Star Wars series, and not just the ones that they have announced, but I think so. There's going to be an Ahsoka miniseries where Ezra will be a guest character from Star Wars Rebels. They also want to have a I don't remember, but there were at least 3 series announced that take place around the time when the Mandalorian is going. So I'm pretty sure we will, if not in the Mandalorian, we will see Grogu in a different series. So this is a way from it. I guess this was a way from them to introduce both characters and then continue the plot for taking back Mandalorian in the Mandalorian and having Grogu in a different series. Not sure. I assume they have plans for Grogu and it wasn't just a marketing ploy to have a cute character.
Well, knowing Disney, they're probably just looking to capitalize any way they can in terms of finances.
You know how there was
money?
No, couldn't accuse them of that.
how there was that those weird, I don't know what they're called, the bird things in the Last Jedi.
I
little-
can't even remember. I wrote that movie off.
I haven't seen it, but there were also they were called porgs, or PRG porg, and I think they were made because on location when they were filming there were a bunch of birds, and it was easier for them to turn those into alien birds than to edit them out completely from the scenes.
Yeah, interesting.
What's the word? Conveniently, they ended up being as a marketable character.
Yeah. Hey, might as well use what nature gives you. Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, hey, good chat. I think I'm off. I'm gonna grab a little bite to eat. So.
It's quarter to midnight here, so I think I'm going.
Yeah, probably about time to call it, huh? All right.
Yeah,
well,
like
we'll
all right.
see you on Sunday then.
Talk to y'all in a week.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Wait, no, Saturday. Do we want to have a? Because previously we had a Saturday meeting before the Sunday
Yeah,
show.
we will just to go over and make sure we
We
get
should
everything lined up.
we should go over not just the innards but the news as well.
Yeah,
What you want to
we'll
what we don't
definitely
want
need
to
to go
include.
over the news, especially if Nishant's not available.
All
And
right.
also last week I saw that the segment, the introduction segment of the show notes where you tell people what the episode is going to be. You didn't fill out that. I could fill it out if you want me to by the next show. If we have the show notes finalized, so I know what the wanderings will be and
Mark,
stuff.
I have to agree with you on the old Star Wars novels. Absolutely loved the Jedi Academy trilogy and the Han Solo trilogies, both of them.
Very good.
Somewhere someone's made the comment on Star Wars Legends and the canon that stuck with me. It was basically that if a piece of Star Wars Legends media is not contradicted by something in the new canon, there really is no reason not to think of it as canon. For example, I have never read any of the Star Wars old Star Wars novels, but I know there's a series of with Obi-Wan on Tatooine before he met Luke again, and there will be a new Obi-Wan series with Ewan McGregor. So I'm pretty sure that will somehow conflict with those novels.
The Jedi Knight series is wiped out. Most of the Thrawn stuff is wiped out. It all has to be wiped out in order for the movies to make sense.
Thrawn is actually introduced as in the canon
Right.
in the Star Wars Rebels series.
But as a new character.
Yes.
Or a different character than he was in the books.
Yes, but they also did. I haven't read that, but there's
Oh,
also a
sure.
new canon Thrawn series, book series.
Yeah, a new one, not the old one.
Yes, but okay. I mean, you can still read the old ones, and you can still enjoy the old
I
ones.
still enjoy reading the old ones. I love reading the Han Solo trilogies. But yeah, it's still, they're non-canon.
Well, I got into Star Wars after the new canon was differentiated from the legacy one, so I haven't really read any of the legend stuff. But I guess my only big problem with the new canon is the sequels movies, because I think somewhere I read that of course the Mandalorian is taking place a number of years before new movies.